Hi, it's Friday, so I am going to do massage with you today. June is with us. She's quiet, so that's a delight. Um, I'm gonna start with our heads. I feel like we're all like figuring new things out. There's so much like adapting and adjusting, and it doesn't make sense that that would make our physical heads hurt. Um, and yet I feel like it does. I feel like when we're thinking and learning and processing, um, subconsciously we end up, I mean, it's like in many places, but particularly I think we end up, like making the focus face. And the focus face is tense. It causes tension in our heads. It's like our brain is working hard, and and that can lead to headaches. um, it's a strange thing and not well understood, but the physical tension, like spasms, you could have a muscle spasm in a tiny muscle just as easily as you could have a muscle spasm in a big muscle. And muscle spasms in the muscles of our heads and jaws and necks and this sort of suboccipital, this kind of neck to head area, that's you have a tension headache because of that. So let's not have those if we can avoid them. Plus, heads are so easy to massage on our own, and you probably are doing this already, but I just thought we could do it together for like 10 minutes because it's nice to do things together. So let's begin. I'm going to start with my hands in this like squirrel paw shape. Right here in the center of my forehead at my hairline. And there are these big, smooth, flat muscles that run all over the top of our heads that we don't think about because you can't see them, and they're hard to feel because they're quite flat, but they are working all the time. They work for little stabilization. They are assisting us in our expressions, and they can end up with knots. They just can, and it's good to kind of keep them free, just like everywhere else. It's really useful to keep these muscles free. So let's liberate the flat muscles of the dome of our skull, shall we? Squirrel paw hands. Start at the top of your hairline, or the bottom of your hairline, right here where your hair starts, or if where your hair might start, where some people have hair starting, with your pinkies. And we're going to do little circles, like away from each other, and just follow the line of your head. Follow it, follow it. So it's kind of like it's like if you were able to kind of like open up your head, like say it were I don't know, like a coconut? Or what's another metaphor? What's a thing that would be better than a coconut? I don't know, some delightful thing where the inside was so wonderful and you couldn't wait to get to it, but you just had to sort of like, and you wanted to be cautious and careful with it because you didn't want to like, coconut I think is good because you don't want to like spill any of the coconut water out, but you just want to kind of gently open the thing up. So you're sort of pushing your fingers down and then gently pulling them away from each other. And then start back at the front, and so each time you come back to the front, you're moving your fingers a little bit further apart. It's like, oh, I've gotten it a little bit. Now I can move my fingers a little further apart. And then the next thing we're going to do is focus on seeing whether we can relax our heads, like relax our necks, so that your head sort of moves with your fingers. It's a kind of tricky thing to do because of how you have to use muscular strength to hold your arms up to do this, but see if you can. See if you can get your shoulders, even though your shoulders are engaged, can you relax your neck? And we're going to keep going. You have to really think about it. And then it's interesting to think about also when you do that, if you're able to relax your neck and let your head move, like, can you relax your jaw also? And then in this last round, in this last line, I'm going to come back up, and now we've gotten far enough down that we're sort of at our temples. So at this point, like if you were to make a kind of a line from the peaks of your eyebrows, I think this is, you can feel, like if you take your fingers, your two fingers, like pinchy fingers, you can kind of feel this spot that's kind of like this bony protrusion here. It's like the corners of your temples, and this is where the muscles start to become bulkier. They go from being these really flat, smooth muscles on the top of your skull to being bulkier muscles, and they start to sort of integrate with the muscles in your that do mastication, chewing. And they also are more responsible for all of this sort of like expressive eyebrow stuff, like, all of the sort of expressive facial movements. So these guys you can often feel knots in them. And now that we're not up above our heads, now I recommend resting your elbows on something. On a table, I'm resting my elbows on my knees because I'm sort of I'm sitting on this low bench, squatty bench. So now when we're in our temples, and again, this is stuff you do all the time. I'm sure you're constantly doing this, but maybe not thinking about it consciously. So think about it consciously. Like, feel if you can feel the little furrows where the bones of your skull come together. See if you can feel, like, deep to the muscle, if you can feel the actual ridges of your skull. And then notice right to left, like my right side, I can feel the muscles feel kind of thicker, and I can actually feel sort of like I can kind of bump over little knots, little like spots where the muscles are particularly contracted. So see, do you have that? Do you guys have that? And if you do, spend a couple seconds just kind of like exploring those little knotty spots, and then also see what they're related to. Like, so if you find a little spot that feels kind of tender and thicker, hold your finger there for a minute, and is it related to your jaw? Like, open and close your jaw, move your jaw from the left to the right. Notice what that does. Can you feel that? I can feel it I can feel it under my fingers. And actually engaging those muscles just with your fingers pressed into them statically, like your fingers are static, but the muscles are engaging, that will help sort of lengthen the fibers and release some of the tension in them. So, and just try all the different expressions. I try frowning, and that's what's like all day long when you're doing these muscles are constantly working. It's small movements, but they're so constant. And it's good to have a little bit of awareness, like to spend some time sort of feeling like making a little map in your head, like, oh, every single time I frown, these guys are working, or every single time I grind my teeth, or, even just talk, these guys are working. And so they deserve a little bit of attention. And then I like to take my thumbs, and when I get right down by my ears, I like to take my thumbs and kind of lift up. So I use my fingers at the top of my head as counterbalance, and then I just lift up, so look, my whole ears go up. And all these muscles right around your ears, these guys get used constantly. And if you kind of press in your fingers and lift up, you can feel like all the muscles along my under my cheekbones are connected, because of course everything's connected to everything. So just kind of, if you push in and lift up and then hold and kind of let the muscle slip out from under your thumbs on its own. So you just are kind of holding with enough tension that you've kind of like have the muscle pinned, but you let it slip out from under your thumbs. Does that make sense? Like grab it and kind of hold it up and then let it slowly slip itself down. And do that again. And slip. And again. Slip. Just like that. And then just do gentle, like overall blood back in, kind of scratchy. And then just like that. Okay, that's our first day of massage. I think that I'm gonna spend a lot of time on our faces. We could do foreheads and cheekbones. There's so much in here, and all for our jaws. If you sign up for this, I'd be happy to do this more too. So sign up for massage reunions, and if you want, I'll send you your very own personal guided self-massage videos more often. I'm only going to post to the blog on Fridays, but tell me if you want more. I hope you're well and well tended and taking care of yourself and taking care of each other. And I'm sad that I can't be taking care of you directly, but knowing that you exist makes me feel better, and I think about you.